All right, we're going to be looking at a new drawing today. We're going to be learning some common commands within AutoCAD. So the title of this assignment is AutoCAD Introduction, Learning Common Commands. This is going to be drawing number 01, and it's going to be titled the Common Commands. In this lesson, you're going to learn the following: how to open and manipulate an AutoCAD drawing, how to use 10 different commands within AutoCAD to create drawings, save the file as a PDF, upload to Schoology for grading. Overview of the steps that you're going to need will follow. Open VM Software Portal, download the assignment from Schoology from inside the VM portal. Move the file from the download folder to your 900 network drive. Open in AutoCAD. Open your downloaded file from the 900 drive. This is going to be the name of it. Okay, Drawing 01, Introduction to AutoCAD. Go to Save As and create a backup of your drawing. You're going to name it the following: period, underscore your last name, underscore first name, underscore your drawing number. In this case, we're going to use the example of period 9, my last name, underscore my first name, underscore the drawing number, which is 01. Don't forget to edit the following items in the title block. They're going to be your name, the date, the period, and the plate number, if the plate number has not already been modified for you. Use the video to assist you with creating the 10 different drawing commands. This is key right here. Make sure you're using the video that you're currently watching, because if you don't, you're going to be lost. Once you're all done, you're going to save the drawing as a DWG, which is your standard AutoCAD file name, and you're also going to save the assignment as a PDF. Why do you make 2 copies? The reason why is because the first copy, the DWG, is the regular file. So that way, if you make a mistake, you can always go back to it and fix it. If you only save it as PDF, you can never go back into a DWG from a PDF. Make sure that when you save your files, you're saving them to your 900 drive. Upload the completed drawing as a PDF to Schoology for grade. If the assignment is not uploaded as a PDF, I am unable to grade it. Literally unable to grade it. Below, you're going to see what the 10 commands look like when we're all done with the assignment. Okay, so you got 10 different assignments here. Notice I have not updated the title block here. That is something that would need to be done before you complete the assignment and turn it in to me. Your drawing will start out by looking like this. All right, all blanks. You get a template, but everything's blank inside there, and you just have to modify name, date, period, and plate. Here's our rubric that we've seen before. I'm not going to go over it since we've already looked at it once before. And you're going to see the following: drawing, which is a DWG. You're also going to see a PDF, which is the same thing that we looked at before. That's just your printout. All right, so I have currently gone through and I've opened up AutoCAD 2018, and I am just starting to agree to my licenses. I'm going to go ahead and open up AutoCAD, and I'm going to bring you back after. All right, so at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and we're going to bring up our AutoCAD to a maximum size screen. And then we're going to come down to minimize. That way, when we bring it back up, it'll be the right size later on. If this ever happens to you. All right, so now I've got AutoCAD 2018 up and running. What we're going to do is we're going to minimize this window right here, because there's not much we can do right now. So we're going to go ahead and minimize this out. on our VM portal, we're going to go ahead and we're going to find this Schoology link here. Double click it. What this does is just takes us directly to our Schoology webpage. And we're going to go ahead and open up our assignment. So that way we can get to the bottom of this where we can download the actual assignment. Now I'm just going to briefly go over, relatively quick, how we get this where we need it to go. If you can't follow this, I've done this in the previous assignment, and we now have the ability to just double click on this assignment, go ahead and go open it in AutoCAD just like we've done before. You're now going to see the assignment opened up. Now, what we're going to do is, one issue that sometimes happens in AutoCAD is AutoCAD will crash. And in order to protect ourselves from losing our hard work and putting us further behind than what we want to be, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to type in a command. And that command is going to start an autosave for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the following on my keyboard. I don't have to move my cursor anywhere. All I'm going to do is just type in the following. AUTOSAVE. Okay. Notice that it automatically has populated it right here. Auto save. I hit enter on my keyboard. It's now asking me, what value do you want your auto save to be set to? Notice right now it's in brackets of a 0. 0 means it is not auto saving. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 1 and enter. So what that means is every 1 minute, AutoCAD is going to save our drawing for us as a backup. All right, so before we get started with anything, we're going to go ahead and we're going to populate the information in our title block. Remember, it's your last name, all capitals. First name. I'm going to use my down arrow and then my down arrow again. So that way I don't have to retype in period and 9. Make sure that you don't accidentally delete off that space in there. If you do, and let's say it just looks something like that, you can always, after your name, just go ahead and hit the enter key, and then you'll get that back. Click off in order to get out of that. Double click on date. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and change the date. Jan, and then 12/2021. Plate is going to be 01, so that's good. So we're going to just go ahead and click off. Now, again, autosave is set up, but we can just double check to make sure it's working. So we can go ahead and type in auto save and hit enter, and you're going to notice that it's still at the default of 1, so we did right. So we're going to go ahead and hit enter again. If you're really, really worried, you could always come up to this little save floppy disk. Go ahead and hit save. That way you're guaranteed that the item has saved for you. You're also going to notice this little prompt right here. And every so often it'll give you a little prompt and say, hey, this is what just happened in either the last command or past several commands. So now let's take a look at the drawing itself. Now with the drawing, we've got several different things that we're going to be looking at. So let me go ahead and bring back our drawing itself. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and download the PDF. That way I can take a look at it and we can flip-flop between the two of them quickly. Okay, so here's the drawing. All right. So let's take a look at what we're going to be drawing. We're going to be drawing a line first, and then we're going to be doing something called a multi-line, a polyline, a polygon, a rectangle, an arc, a circle, Homer Simpson's favorite food, which happens to be the donut. We're going to be creating something called a spline. And then the last thing that we're going to be doing is something called an ellipse. There's special ways to do each one of these. So let's go ahead and take a look at the line first. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to reproduce each and every one of these symbols or commands as close to a copy of this sheet here as possible. So let's go back. Oops, I clicked on the wrong thing here. Go to our drawing here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the command line. We're not going to worry about anything that is going on up here. We're not worrying about that at all. Okay? So we're just going to go ahead and type in the following. And you're going to notice you could click down here if you wanted to into this command prompt. I'm not going to. I'm just going to simply start typing on my keyboard. Line. And it's going to ask, where's your start point? Well, there's my start point. Now you're going to notice that I can draw my line in all different directions. And it's now pinned in this one spot because that's where I started. I'm going to try to create a line that is just of a given length. I don't care what the length is. I just want it to be long, but I don't want it to go into any other boxes. Okay, I want it to stay within this box. I picked approximately the center to start. Give it a direction, left click again. I want to get out of the command. I right click and hit enter. Simple as that. Now, we want to do another line, but this time we want to draw two lines. Well, I could go ahead and go into the line command again, and I could draw one line, right click, enter. Go back in, type the command again, draw the line a second time. All right, but that's time consuming. We don't have a lot of time to do this stuff. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to type in the following command. Notice I got this little green jump point when I move too close to this endpoint. All right, we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to move away from it. But take a look. What happened? What's in that corner still? It's a little green crosshair. Now, I want to avoid green crosshairs or green jump points or snap points anytime I possibly can. So just come back up there again. And then when you move away, you're going to notice that I no longer have a green crosshair. So I come up there once. There's my green crosshair. I come back up there again. My green crosshair is gone. I'm going to left click one time, drop my line downward, left click again, and notice AutoCAD wants to try to continue on drawing lines. I don't want it. I only want two lines that were equal in length. So I'm going to right click and enter. That gets me out of the command. Now take a look here. They're not perfectly centered. What I can do is I can go ahead and left click on the object one time, move away from it for a second, come back to it, left click, hold, and now I can move the object around and I can adjust it. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at something called a polyline. Now a polyline is nothing more than several line shapes that are attached in one continuous line or shape. All right, so we're going to type in the following command. So we've started off with line, and then we ended up putting an M in front of line, and then we got multi-line. Now this time what we're going to do is we're going to put a P in front of line, and we're going to get something called a polyline, or P-line as some people call it. I'm going to go ahead and start in this lower right-hand corner, and then I'm going to drag upwards, a little bit of a distance. Notice I've got about a 1/1/16 inch distance. I'm going to go ahead and left click. And then I need to create an arc up top. And how do I know that I have to create an arc? Because I'm going to look at this part of my assignment, and you can notice I've got an arc right here. So in order to get an arc, I need to look down in this command prompt, and sometimes this command prompt will give me extra features that I can do within each one of these commands. In this case, we have something called an arc. And notice that there's a capital letter. It's not always at the beginning of the word, but most of the time it is. So I can either do one of two things. I can either left click on the word arc, or I can type on my keyboard that capital A, or I can just hit A in this case. Since I've got my mouse here, I'm just going to go ahead and click. You're going to notice it has now changed it so that it is now an arc instead of a straight line. I'm going to left click. I'm going to continue on. It's going to want to continue doing this. I don't want to draw my polyline anymore, so I'm going to right click and hit enter. So the next item that we're going to be looking at is going to be a polygon. Keep in mind that polygon has 5 sides. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and type in the following command. PO. And you'll notice as soon as I start typing it in, you're going to see polygon appear as some of my choices. Now, look what's going to happen here. I'm going to hover over polygon for a second, and it's going to show me a little descriptor of what polygon is. You can specify the different parameters of a polygon, including the number of sides, the difference between an inscribed and circumscribed options show below. So the object on your left is inscribed, where the object sits inside of a circle. The object to the right is circumscribed, where your lines on the object are tangent to the circle. Okay, so, or otherwise known as it sits outside of the circle. That's just an easy way to remember it. So inscribed, the object sits inside of a circle. Circumscribed, it sits outside of a circle. All right, so now if we look down here, it's going to ask us polygon. Enter the number of sides. 5. It's going to ask specify center of polygon. I'm going to pick approximately the center of the spot. Doesn't have to be exact. It's going to ask me, do I want inscribed or circumscribed? For this one, we're just going to use inscribed. And then we're just going to try to get it so that the bottom of our pentagon is a horizontal line. Now, next one that we're going to look at is going to be a rectangle. Let's take a look on our sheet to see what a rectangle looks like. So that's the orientation that the rectangle is going to be. Let's go back and into our drawing and let's try to do a rectangle. Now, we could use the line command, draw a line, draw a line, draw a line, draw a line. It's kind of slow though. Instead, let's go ahead and see if we start typing in rectangle. Do we have an option for a rectangle? Yeah, look at this. Rectang. Actually, that's a rectangle. And look at that. If I hover over the word, what does it come up with? It comes up with a descriptor for us. Okay, let's see if we can get here again. Okay, so it creates a regular polyline. Huh. We learned about polylines a couple things ago, didn't we? So let's go ahead and try it. I'll go ahead and it's asking me specify first corner or point. There's my first point. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag so that I make my object wider and I give it some length. Do I have to have exact numbers? The answer is no. And then once I left click, it automatically kicks me out of the command. All right, so the next command that we're going to be looking at is arc. Let's take a look on our worksheet to see what an arc looks like. All right, so an arc, in order to get an arc, we have to pick 3 points. I pick a start point, maybe a midpoint, and a stopping point. Let's try going back to our AutoCAD file, and let's go ahead and start typing ARC. A-R. And notice that it automatically comes up with ARC for us. And it gives us an example of how to draw an arc. Get back on that so it highlights it again for us. Notice that we get a start point, which is number 1. We pick a second point, which is somewhere on that arc. And then we hit number 3, which is going to be our end point of our arc. Go ahead and try that. My first start point, my second point, which is on it. And notice what's kind of cool is it starts showing you what the arc will now look like. And there's my third point. Does it have to be anything specific? No. Does it have to look exactly like what our reference sheet was? No. Let's go ahead and look at the next one. And that actually looks pretty close, doesn't it? The next one is going to be a circle. Back to here, and let's go ahead and start typing in circle. C. Hey, look at that. First thing that comes up is circle. Now, one thing that you're going to notice is, do you notice how there is the letter C, and then in parentheses it puts the full word of circle? What's before the parentheses is known as a shortcut. So instead of always having to type in the word arc, A-R-C, I can just hit the letter A and enter, and it automatically put me into the arc command. I can type in L, and that will take me into line command rather than typing out L-I-N-E each time. So it saves you a little bit of time. It's called shortcuts. Now, let's take a look at how to do a circle. So it's asking, first point that you pick is going to be the center of the circle. Second point is somewhere on the outside of the circle. Let's try that. Circle. We look here, it's asking for the center point. I'm going to pick just somewhere randomly in the middle here. And then I'm just going to stretch out. Doesn't have to be any specific number. Notice it says specify radius or, in parentheses, diameter. So for us, I'm just doing radius. I don't care what the number is. I'm just going to click. There it is. Now we get to Homer Simpson's favorite AutoCAD command. Let's take a look at it. Donut. Homer Simpson's favorite. Let's go see if we can draw that. It's a little bit different. It's not just a circle with another circle inside of it. It's colored. Let's see if we can do that. Take a guess what command you're going to type in. You're right, donut. So let's do D-O, and look at that. Donut comes up right away. So D-O is donut. Let's go ahead, and it's going to ask for specify inside diameter of the donut. 1/2, so a ½ an inch. I'm going to leave it as my default. And then it's going to say, what's the outside diameter? And default is 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit enter again. And now it's asking, hey, where's your center point? And look at that. It's like a target. So I can go ahead and click it. If I click multiple times, it's going to go ahead and put my donuts all over the place. I don't want that, though. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select each one of these that I don't want just by left clicking on them, and then I'm going to find the delete key, D-E-L-E-T-E, and hit enter. Okay. That's a nice way of being able to do a donut command. Now, a donut command is very, very helpful when you're creating electronic type, what are known as pads, for your soldering joints. So this would be drilled out, and then your solder would go through here, and then your component would actually fit through that hole. All right, so next command is called spline. Some people call it SP-line, okay, but it's actually spline. Let's take a look at the spline command over here. Now, you're going to notice that a spline is basically just a curved line. Let's see if we can figure out how to do that. Anybody want to guess as to what we actually have to type in for a command? Let's try starting to spell it. S-P. Look at that. Spell check? No, we don't want spell check. But we want spline, which is the next one out. Next one down. S-P-L. Let's take a look at how the spline command works. Create a smooth curve that passes through or near specified points. Spline creates curves called non-uniformal radial B-splines, or NURBs, referred to as splines for simplicity. Splines are defined either with fit points or control vertices. By default, points coincide with splines, while control vertices define control frame. Boy, that's very confusing. Basically, what it means is that AutoCAD will automatically try to figure out the smoothest points between a couple of different spots. Look at that bottom line. You see the red line with all the little dots? Think of a roller coaster. Would you want a roller coaster that goes between the red lines and blue dots, or that black line that's kind of in that same vicinity? Now, you might really like roller coasters that are crazy and have those sharp, abrupt movements to them. But one of the problems might be that it might physically not be able to change directions in some of those points. Okay? Especially when you get going from the left to the right. You go up that first little ramp, and then you come down, and then all of a sudden you run right into the next ramp that's going up. And it's a little dangerous. And on top of that, it causes a lot of stress on the roller coaster itself, I bet. So what they'll do is AutoCAD will automatically calculate what spline or what points will fit best into there to make that line as representative as possible, yet at the same time as smooth as possible. Okay, so let's try that. So let's go ahead and hit spline. I'm going to ask for our first point. Then just randomly pick a second point. And let's randomly pick a third point. Randomly pick a fourth point and a fifth point. Right click and enter. All right, so now you can see that we have a spline. Does it have to be exactly what is seen here? The answer is no. Let's take a look at the last one. That's ellipse. Go ahead and type in E-L. Look at that. Ellipse automatically comes up for us. Let's look here. So it says specify an endpoint for the ellipse. Specify another endpoint for the ellipse. And then specify a distance for the ellipse. Good. That's it. That's all you had to do. So once you're done here, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to come up to the floppy disk and hit save. And then we're going to go up to the A and export PDF. We're going to make sure that its export is set up so that it is on extent. If yours doesn't say extent, you can always click here and change it. We're going to change our location to our 900 drive. The title of our drawing should be correct. And then go ahead and hit save. From there, you can then go ahead and upload your assignment to Schoology for grading.